So I've made it pretty clear on this channel, I am Ten Hag in until the end of the season, and then at the end of this season, I will assess everything I've seen this season and decide whether I think INEOS should move Ten Hag on or not. I don't want any changes happening till the end of the season, but we've got to have a conversation about new managers and potential of that happening, of rumours coming in that there are suggestions that INEOS are looking at managers like Nagelsmann, Potter, De Zerbi, and even Thomas Tuchel wanting United jobs. So we're going to discuss all the latest news in regards to managers. INEOS are reportedly looking at managers that could be coming to Manchester United with a particular focus on Nagelsmann, because if Ten Hag was gone, he would be my number one choice. And then we're going to have a conversation of, should Ten Hag keep his job at United? Has Ten Hag done enough? Should INEOS go with something new, or should INEOS go, you know what, the biggest problem isn't the manager, the players need to go, the environment needs to change first. Is there too much that needs to change already in the summer for us to change Ten Hag? We will discuss all of that, but let's get into the news. It was said that Brighton manager Roberto De Zerbi is likely to be in the frame for the Manchester United job if Erik Ten Hag is sacked in the summer. It was said that Julian Nagelsmann is also very interested in becoming the Manchester United manager. Thomas Tuchel is desperate to return to the Premier League with his eye on Man United and Newcastle, and of course Ashworth and INEOS have liked Graham Potter. That's been widely reported. They are sort of the four names that, let's say, if Ten Hag is sacked, would most likely come to United. Of course, the sporting manager as well is one being looked at, and there are reports, not from very reliable sources, but reports and suggestions that INEOS might move quick, because Liverpool obviously want Xabi Alonso, but if not, they could go for Julian Nagelsmann or Amorim, who would, I think, be two of United's key targets to replace Ten Hag, and that potentially INEOS could act and quick and get something sort of done. Now, I think, to be honest, as Jim Ratcliffe said in his recent interview, the problem is so many successful managers have come to United and not been successful. Maybe it's the environment at United that isn't shaped to make managers successful. And I think Jim Ratcliffe was suggesting that the environment and structure at Manchester United is definitely the biggest problem. And I think whether you're Ten Hag in or Ten Hag out, I think we could all agree on one thing, that we need to change the environment before anything else, and we need to get rid of a load of players before anything else. And then we can have the debate of whether Ten Hag should stay or whether Ten Hag should go, because tactically, Ten Hag's got a lot wrong this season. He's making the same mistakes, and tactically, other teams are superior to us, and maybe Ten Hag isn't good enough. But then also you look at the players we have, you look at the recruitment, which isn't Ten Hag's fault, which he gets a lot of blame for spending all that money on Anthony Mount. But you also look at getting Casemiro as a De Jong alternative when they're completely different players, and go, well, we've got to change all of these things first before we change the manager. But with Ten Hag conceding the second most shots, Man United have conceded the second most shots off the Sheffield United, you might think maybe Ten Hag has to go. And this is where we're going to have this conversation. And I voiced my thoughts on Twitter, and I said that I am not out on Ten Hag. I'm not out on Ten Hag. I'm not Ten Hag out. I want him to be given. I completely messed that out. I'm not Ten Hag out. I want him to be given till the end of the season. And I believe every manager needs time, instead of Manchester United sacking managers every 2 years. That's what I said. I can't believe I messed up that tweet. I said, I'm not Ten Hag out right now. I want him to be given to the end of the season. I don't like the idea of sacking managers every 2 years. The biggest issue at the club is the structure and the environment, not Ten Hag. But once INEOS fixes this, if they do make a move for Nagelsmann, I won't complain. And I stick with that. Once INEOS fix the structure and environmental issues, if they make a move for Nagelsmann, I won't complain. And this is because I'm sort of in this mindset that 2024 is going to be this new Manchester United era, with Ashworth and Barada coming in and making footballing decisions rather than accountants. And when you've got Ashworth and Barada, experienced people in the footballing world making decisions, I will back the decisions they've made, because they've been successful at their last club. So if they decide to keep Ten Hag, I will support that decision. If they decide to sack Ten Hag, I will support that decision. Because you know what, I'm a big fan of Nagelsmann, and while I'm Ten Hag in and I want Ten Hag to turn around and be successful, Nagelsmann, I am a massive fan of Nagelsmann. I did also say there's a lot of problems at United, and I don't think you can scapegoat one particular player or manager and blame everything on them. I think while, you know, maybe getting a new manager and solve some problems, there's so many problems to solve. I think today versus Fulham, we saw a lot of tactical errors from Ten Hag, which, to be honest, we've been seeing all season, but goals and wins in recent games have sort of papered over the cracks. And I think the fact that we've conceded the second most shots in the league, I think the structure, how open we're in possession, is poor, and Ten Hag is continuously not changing that, not changing the press, and not changing the rest defence, and that is on Ten Hag. But I also think, well, actually, we have players that aren't good enough. We have players that are unable to play the way Ten Hag wants to play. We've had injuries, we've had poor recruitment. Ideally, I want INEOS to come in and fix the board, fix the structure, get the deadwood out, and Ten Hag to stay and succeed. But when you look at our shape out of possession, how tactically wrong we've been at times this season, and only Sheffield United conceding more shots than us, you do have to say this is looking not good for Erik. For me, that is on Erik. Some of the tactics are on Erik. The Eriksen sub made no sense today. That is on Erik. And I think when you look at our players, you also go, well, to be fair to Ten Hag, he's not playing the way he wants to at Ajax because he doesn't have the players at Manchester United. Like, look at the players he's lining up with. Look at this squad. Could many other managers get much better out of the squad? The squad isn't good, but also the squad doesn't have the legs to play as intensive style of football Ten Hag wants to play. You can also look at it like that. There's so many things. You can look at the fact that he wants to play expansive football. We've got Eriksen and Casemiro as our midfielders in the first summer who cannot do what Ten Hag wants out of possession. And our biggest problem at the moment is actually our structural shape out of possession and why we're so open and so easy to concede against. So there's so many ways you can look at this. And I think there's so many different problems that I see people blame everything on Rashford. I see people blame everything on Bruno, blame everything on Casemiro, blame everything on Ten Hag. But I don't think you can just pinpoint one player or even Ten Hag as the blame. And you have to say, yeah, Rashford's not been good enough this season. Lindelof at left back, that's an area to blame. Injuries is an area to blame. Bruno's recent performances haven't been good. Casemiro's been woeful, but also Ten Hag's, how he sets up the midfield structurally doesn't help Casemiro or Bruno. I think there's so many elements that you can blame that. I think for to just assume that Ten Hag is sacked and Nagelsmann comes in and that fixes everything would be very naive in my opinion. I think Ten Hag needs to do better tactically. I think some of his subs, some of his decision making, his stubbornness, just how poor we are set up and how worse teams seem to play better football than us. I can understand why INEOS would sack Ten Hag at the end of the season if this continues, especially if Nagelsmann's available and how good a manager he is. And I think whatever decision INEOS make, I'll back them. I said ideal scenario is Ten Hag fixes issues, we go on a run, we make top four and progress even further next season with Ten Hag having a good summer, good recruitment, but realistically cannot see it happening. And I wanted to just really give my stance on this Ten Hag situation because you guys know, if you've been following my channel, that I will remain Ten Hag in until the end of the season, and then I will tell you at the end of the season whether I think Ten Hag should stay or be sacked. I'm very aware that there's a lot Ten Hag's getting wrong, and I'm very aware that some things might need to change from Ten Hag, or he will probably have to go. But I'm also very aware of the wider issues at Manchester United, how Ten Hag achieved in his first season, what he did last season, and how we need to get rid of so many players. We need to bring so many more players in. What could Ten Hag achieve under a good structure? What could Ten Hag achieve under good recruitment? I'm aware of so many things at United that I think we're ultimately in a position where let's change the structure first, get Ashworth, get Omar Barada in, get those people that need to come in first. And once the structure is changed, we can then get those deadwood players out and bring in the right kind of players. And then we have to assess at the end of the season, can Ten Hag play this way? Is Ten Hag capable of doing this? He showed this. I actually showed this in his first season. Should we give Ten Hag the summer that he wants? Or do INEOS say, look, Nagelsmann's available, they've got this vision of how they want to play and Nagelsmann suits that? That is a decision on INEOS. Ultimately, I just want Ten Hag to succeed and turn it around, but I don't see it happening. And I don't like to be negative. You know me, I always like to be positive. And the reason I say I don't see it happening is more off the chance, and realistically, he's not changed a lot this season tactically. Even when we've won, even when we've lost, there's been the same issues. The rest defence, how open we are, how we concede the most shots, lack of creativity, no service for Højlund. Højlund's just scoring goals for himself. Build-up issues. And a lot of that is down to just actually not having Martinez and Shaw. And when we do have Martinez and Shaw, we see that actually we don't have those issues in build-up. And a lot of it is down to not having the players, 100%. But tactically, I think Ten Hag needs to do better. But I also understand a lot of it's down to not having the players available this season. But I think if he continues to make the same mistakes, we're going to be a bit like how we are between now and the end of the season, of winning some games, losing some games, not super convincing. INEOS may sack him. I think if we can go on a run, we can play some good football, we can get going, which is going to be hard without Martinez, Shaw and Højlund, which is why I'm kind of doubting it. And we can get top four and INEOS back Ten Hag, and they give him the time and they give him a good summer. We get good players in that can play the way Ten Hag wants to play, and we progress next season. That is what I want to see. That's ideal, because it takes so much more than 2 years for a manager to really succeed, especially at United, when there's so many issues with structure, recruitment. It's going to take more than 2 years to succeed, and I don't like sacking managers every 2 years. But I'm also of the sense of, look, if this continues to the end of the season, which is likely, and INEOS then go in and get Nagelsmann, I'm not going to complain. I think that's my stance on it for now. Obviously, I'll give my stance come end of the season. I'm going to judge Ten Hag at the end of the season. He is getting a lot wrong, but also he doesn't have much help from the players and environment around him. And there's things that need to be changed first before we address Ten Hag. I want to know your stance on Ten Hag down below and how you're feeling. Thank you for watching. Bye.